Hey, my mic's working today. Good times. We need every second, so I'm going to call this regular District of Clearwater regular council meeting for Tuesday, January 17th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging we're fortunate to be gathering together on the unceded territory of the Símpcwemc people who have been caretakers of this land since time immemorial. Are there any late items to add to the agenda, including in-camera late items?
I have two clarifications on staffing for in-camera.
For in-camera, okay. Since they're in camera, I can't discuss those right now,
Yeah.
but we'll pass that to in-camera for that to be discussed. As long as they're urgent items, then that's fine. If timely items, then okay. Thank you. So with that, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? And noting that there is a 7.10 presentation for YCS added already that you're aware of. So a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Matheson, second by Councillor McKenzie. All those in favor, and that passes. Specific to this one, are there any declarations? Oh, sorry. Yeah, so that's the agenda. Are there any conflicts of interest or conflicts with pecuniary interest that anyone would like to declare? And I would especially cite the fact that we are doing the cases today for grant and aid. And if you in any way participated or are advising or benefit from that, it'd be advisable that you declare that up front. Councillor Frizzle. Use your mic, please. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I declare a conflict with Yellowhead Community Services as I work with them casually.
Anyone else? Councillor Matheson.
Yeah, I declare a possible conflict of interest with Raft River PAC.
Okay, thank you for declaring that. Anyone else? Seeing none. Moving on to delegations. First up is Raft River PAC. Who's presenting? On this, sorry, yeah, we did. Yeah. No, there are no minutes at this point. Yeah, we did. Next. Yeah. Yeah, we did. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Mr. Thomas.
Any member who declared a conflict needs to step out of the room while the material is being presented.
On this, yes. That is according to our procedures bylaw. Okay, thank you. So we hope you can keep this to 5 so we can do 5 minutes of questions or so after it's done, but do your best. And we're trying to keep at least your section to 10 minutes. Council has already had your presentation, your paper presentation to read, so they're aware of that. And Mr. Prime will be keeping track of time a little bit for me on that. So thank you for coming and fire away.
Actually, could we get them a mic, please? Because I know anybody who hears it
yeah.
recording. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Do I just hold it? That might be easiest. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Shook, and I'm sure most of you know I'm a teacher at the elementary school. I'm passionate about connecting students with their community and nature, and I have been incorporating outdoor education into my teaching for 20 years. With me tonight is Julie Bonamore. She's the treasurer of the Raft River Elementary Parent Advisory Council, just in case people don't know what a PAC is. Julie is also a registered forest therapy guide and a lover of all things nature. So tonight we're going to share with you a project that we've been working on for over 4 years. Our project is the Raft River Outdoor Classroom and Learning Space. We were really hoping to show you our promotional video. It's probably why Ken stepped out of the room. That was created by Ken Matheson, as it gives a really nice visual of our project, and it shares the journey that we've been on with the students, staff, and community to make this project a reality. Sadly, the video is 5 minutes and we had other things to say, so we'll just do the talking tonight, and then we'll send out a link to the video and to the website so you guys can take a look at it. So to give you a brief idea of the scope of our project, I'll give you the following description. you want me to keep going? I just stole Julie's lines. The outdoor classroom will be located in the far corner of the school field. Built into the hillside, it will include a covered classroom area as well as a round amphitheater built into the hillside. Both the classroom and the amphitheater will be covered with what is called a butterfly roof, designed to collect rainwater and channel it down a plexiglass wall and into our existing wetlands. The classroom and learning space is designed around the ideal classroom, where students can gather for instructions and discussions, and then break into smaller groups into the surrounding pods based on the 4 elements. We have the pollinator garden, which is wind, the wetlands area, which is water, the amphitheater circle, which is fire, and a wonderful sheltered area under a grove of trees, which is the dirt. The kids already like to play in the dirt. The structure will be completed by a winding accessibility pathway leading from the school building alongside the playground area, across a bridge, and into the upper classroom area.
You're probably wondering where we are at with this project today. So we have our building permit. All 3 phases of the project have been put out to bid. These include the cement pad, amphitheater, post and beam classroom structure with roof, and the accessibility pathway. We've raised over 110,000 towards our total cost estimate of 200,000. And our start date for construction is April of 2023. Tonight, we're asking for a grant and aid for 5,000 towards our project from the District of Clearwater.
We think the District of Clearwater should support our project financially for the following reasons. The first reason is for our educators and students. Outdoor classrooms offer students a unique opportunity for cognitive and physical development. Connectedness to the outdoors preserves the physical, mental health, and well-being that is the springboard for making academic strides. More than just a refreshing substitute for indoor learning, outdoor learning comes with its own set of benefits that can't be realized inside of buildings. So when we're talking about the students and educators that will benefit from this project, we're not just talking about the teachers and students at Raft River. We are envisioning all our local experts and naturalists coming together to give presentations and talks in this inspiring space. We have already been in talks with the TRU Outdoor Research Center to connect with the students in their spring field courses. The amphitheater will be the perfect setting for cultural presentations and gatherings with the round amphitheater seating and central speakers podium. The area surrounding the classroom will be planted with a native plant medicine garden, complete with interpretive signs, as well as a learning forest planted with native tree species. Already in place, we have a pollinator garden and wetlands area.
The second reason we feel that the district should support our project financially is because of how it will benefit our district. To demonstrate this, we've pulled out some key components of the 2019-2022 strategic plan, which states, of vital importance is the citizens' vision for the community as expressed in the District of Clearwater official community plan. Clearwater is a healthy community that is attractive to all age groups, offering a wide range of social and cultural activities, a community that thrives, promotes, and coexists with its natural surroundings, a great place to live, work, and play, a carbon neutral community achieved through the use of innovative energy alternatives, power production, and new construction.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure that council's probably has all the questions that will fill in the rest of the presentation, but we're over 5 on the first part of it right now. So I'm gonna go to council at this particular point. Council, do you have questions of the presenters on this one? Councillor Sim first.
I love the broad vision, the big vision, the community vision. I'm just wondering how you see this impacting other citizens of Clearwater and how that might work.
Well, I guess how I envision it is that it will be a place where people can come and connect with students and connect together in an outdoor setting, especially with COVID and not wanting to be crammed inside buildings. It will provide a space where we can do presentations, have gatherings, share knowledge as a community. outside.
So supplemental to that, is that just student engagement, or do you also see the opportunity for like a speaker series and an adult
Yes.
engagement? So
Yes.
separate from just student engagement?
Exactly. Like I'm imagining, you know, Trevor Goward coming and talking about whatever he can talk about, because I've had him talk about he can talk about anything.
Great,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Any other counselors? Counselor Fizzle? A microphone, please, sorry.
How you're going to do it as a classroom? Like, are you doing all grades in the school?
Yeah, it'll be, you know, during the school hours, it'll be similar to the library or the gym. We'll have a schedule. Classes will sign up, you know, on Wednesdays in the morning. This class goes so that every class gets a chance to use it. And then just like the library and the gym, if you have a special presentation or some kind of event going on, then that takes precedence over.
So there'll be a schedule.
Yeah, and then in the evenings, I mean, school property is public property, right? You can go and hang out there and enjoy the space. The vision is that it's a space where you learn just by being there, with the signs and the garden and just the way that it's set, that doesn't have to be structured. Lots of unstructured learning will happen in that space just because of the way that we have it set up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from counselors? I have sort of two probably. You say you're at $110,000 in funding at this particular point. What's the vision for the rest of it, other than a potential District of Clearwater grant and aid? And the second part of that is the school district or the Ministry of Education providing any sort of funding on this directly? Is there budget funding for that?
They're funding moving irrigation. They usually, I mean, in my experience, they usually jump in with, you know, oh no, you don't need to pay for the fencing, we'll put that up. Oh no, we're going to deliver the topsoil. That's been my experience. But at this point, it's just paying for the irrigation changes and the digging up the irrigation. Our plan all along has been to get as much funding as we can from all the different businesses and organizations, and then to top it off by asking the Community Forest Corporation to match what we have. And we've been encouraged by the community forest to do that. So that's been always our end goal, is we're going to get as much as we can, make sure we've exhausted all our possible resources, and then apply for that matching grant.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Any further questions? If not, thank you for your presentation. And I think we got another hour and 50 minutes of these, so we'll just bang along to the next person, which is Rotary Club of Clearwater. And
We encourage you guys to check out the website.
yes, and if you can, yeah, that'd be great. I think everybody in the audience should check it out too. Thank you. So Rotary Club of Clearwater is up next if you wish to speak. Okay. Yeah, sure. We've got your grant and aid application form in the package. So this is for Christmas tree light up. So just to maybe explain sorry, just to explain Christmas tree light up. You're intending to, this is for this coming year's Christmas tree lighting. Okay, and just maybe describe the event a little bit. So what's the general Christmas tree light up night look like?
Well, it's been pretty reduced over the last couple of years because of COVID, obviously. But in the past, we've had all kinds of activities for the kids and community. And we have obviously the big light up. Santa comes and he lights up the big Christmas tree, and we have all the decorations and things. But we like to bring back the cookie decorating and the choir and the reading the Christmas carol, stuff like that. And we've had other things where we've had the Raft River School, they make decorations, and we have a tree for them to decorate. So we want to get back up to the old time one.
Excellent.
And we just need a little bit of funding to get us started on that kind of stuff.
Thank you. Any questions from councilors to Ms. Bates on this one? Councilor Herring, thank you.
What can?
This past December, we had 45 children, and we had over 100, including parents and stuff. So, yeah, it was really good.
Bill?
Set that.
Yeah.
Better? Yeah, there we go.
In the past, we've had quite a few, sometimes over 200 people. And because if we have all those kind of activities, people will really want to turn out.
I remember those days and it was really terrific, and
Yes.
certainly having a bit of a market inside the info center. Have you worked with the info center to ensure that that would be a vision that they share?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I talked to Claire, and I have an inkling that they're going to be doing some work in the building, and it'll make it better for winter events, because right now we don't have access, because of the toilets and the water gets all shut off. So, but anyways, we'll definitely work with Claire.
And on behalf of council, thank you very, very much for sustaining such a really good community tradition. It's been nice for Christmas. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Any further, Councillor Frizzle?
I just wanted to say that I did attend it this year, and it was really, I could really sense that people were really glad to have it back in the traditional way, and that they could actually sit on Santa's knee. So it was really nice to see. It'd be nice to see it
Yeah.
expand again.
Yeah, be fun.
Thank you. Anything further from council before we move on? Thank you for your presentation and answering questions. I do note that there's a couple people in the audience who have bugged me before about Christmas spirit in this town and lights. So when you go back to the audience or during the recess, there might be some people that want to talk to you. Thank you. Thank you, Abby.
Yeah, and I'm the next one is the Wells Bay Curling Club.
Oh, so
I'll
that's
just
you
stay
too.
right here.
Okay. Okay, tell us about the Bonspiel coming up.
Okay, yes, we're having our first Love Where You Live, first for this year, Love Where You Live Bonspiel on the 27th and 28th. And it's not like other Bonspiels where the participants are the ones that are contributing to the cost of it. So we're just looking for some small funding to do this one, and we'll probably have one in the fall as well to see if we can attract new curlers and stuff. But it's just to provide some nibbles and stuff, because they will be in our lounge, and it's always a good idea to have something to munch on, and prizes for the best costumes.
Thank you. Questions on this one? I think I've attended this in the past. So this is costumes and stuff usually and things like that. People have a lot of fun at this one.
Well, yeah, the theme this year is winter hats. So somebody will win a prize for the best, some team will win a prizes for the best winter hats.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of council on this one? Councillor Sim, go ahead.
Has this proceeded in the past couple of years? I'm sorry, I don't know that. Or is this the first in a couple of years?
No, we had one last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just to sort of rebuild that this money is needed for, or like,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out.
Well, I mean, there's the participants don't pay a fee to be there, and the prizes are donated by them, but that's about all that funding. So if we as the club want to introduce other things, we need some startup funding.
So if I get it right, people who are as incompetent as I am at curling will be like a rock star.
Oh, yeah, guaranteed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything further before we move on to the next presentation, council? Thank you, Abby. Royal Canadian Legion, is there anybody to speak to that one? Right, nobody from Legion. Okay, that one's fairly straightforward anyways. You have it in your package, council. Moving on to the next page, Valley Pride. Come on up and tell us about May Day Parade.
You guys won't have time to read all that right now, but that can be for later.
Homework, it's good homework.
Yes,
Thank you.
So first of all, I just want to thank Mayor and Council for giving Valley Pride the opportunity to express ourselves and elaborate on our 2023 Valley Pride May Day events. An event such as the May Day event is exactly what our community needs, we feel. It's a part of Clearwater's heritage. This event has been sorely missed in our community over the past couple of years, and especially since COVID has changed the landscape of how we interact and engage as individuals and as a community. COVID is now waning, and we are now entering a post-COVID world where we must pick up the pieces where we left off. We see a post-COVID world where we get back to interacting and engaging with each other within our community, building community again by bringing back old traditions and making them new again. It's a perfect example of our elders passing something on from the past to the younger generations to make something new and fresh while building off of the past, remembering our community heritage and embracing it. Valley Pride represents the new and younger generations. As part of who we are, Valley Pride encourages social inclusion. We embrace the things that make us all different and unique in our own ways. We all have our own stories that make us who we are. Some of those stories are connected in terms of longtime residents in Clearwater, and others did not grow up here. Some people may have just recently moved here, and in fact, we have a lot of new people in town. Do we know those people's heritage? Do they know ours? Have we as a community given space for those new people to share and be proud of their heritage? Let's get to know people. Let's give them a space to be proud. In fact, embracing your heritage is going to be the theme of the 2023 May Day Parade. Everyone has their own story to tell, their own unique and different heritage that makes us who we are. For the 2023 May Day Parade, we want to encourage participants of the parade to embrace their heritage, whatever that may be. That's how we learn about each other. It's how we grow from each other, and it's how we build a sense of community with longtime locals and the new people that have chosen Clearwater for whatever reason to be the place they call home. We are all unique in our own ways, and we should all be proud of that heritage, whatever it may be. Embrace it, share it, learn from it, and most of all, again, be proud of it. Rotary has handed over the parade to Valley Pride with their blessings. Rotary has committed themselves to helping us by guiding us through the process using their knowledge they have gained over the past years putting on the parade. We learn from the past for a better future, a future where new traditions take root. Valley Pride wants to be a part of this new post-COVID world. We want to give back. We want to help facilitate these new traditions by building from our heritage and learning from our elders and giving people a space to share who they are and be proud. We feel this event is extremely important to our community. This is an event that brings everyone of all ages out and gives everyone a chance to engage and participate together as a community here in Clearwater. This event gives people of all ages and businesses/organizations alike a chance to express themselves. The grant funds would be extremely beneficial as seed money to help ensure the future success of Clearwater's May Day events for years to come, an investment for our community. The May Day events have been an integral part of our community for, I believe, 28 years. An elder even mentioned the May Day event as being almost institutional to Clearwater. It was an event that everyone looked forward to each year. I know I did as a kid growing up here. The community counted on this event happening. There was the parade, there was ball tournaments, and there used to be dances at one point too. We're making great progress in the planning/organization of this event. We have been networking with other organizations around town to work together to make this event, again, something this community can be proud of and look forward to each year. We're very close to publicly announcing to the public that this will be happening and just have a few more meetings to go. So we've handed out some summarized outline of the day's events for the May Day 2023. As well as a bit of what we as Valley Pride have been up to within our community, and also a little peek at our financials and the network that we're working really hard at building. So as I like to say, we are doing it, people, and thank you all for your consideration and love you all, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Matheson first, sorry.
Quick one, I noticed your, the amount of grant fees requested is $5,000. Is that for the entire, or is that money you're looking for from other organizations as well?
That's what we're asking for the grants and aid. As seed money, like I said, for like years to come. So for this year and hopefully a start for next year's as well.
I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Councillor Herring.
So have you approached any other organizations for funding at all?
Not for funding, no.
Other questions, Councillor?
So
Kim?
just a supplemental to Councillor Matheson, it sounds like the $5,000 is for the full breadth of the weekend. So it's not just a parade, it's actually to make it, you know, an iconic sort of weekend that
Yes,
becomes
exactly.
really inclusive.
Yeah, so you'll see in the
Yeah.
summarized package that there's like the whole schedule of the day.
Yeah, so just to clarify for the, just wasn't sure on that.
further questions? Councillor Frizzle and then Bratton, sorry.
I'd just like to say that it's a lot longer than 28 years that the May Day celebrations have been.
Is it? Okay.
I remember very clearly being 17 years old and getting hit with a baseball, so it's a lot longer than 28 years. I just want to.
Thank you. Councillor Bratton and then Councillor McKenzie.
I have one question. There was a discussion about changing the route. I don't know if we need to care about that right now, but what is your suggestion at the route change?
So the route change that we want to make is we want to have the parade up here. Because after the parade, we're going to be having events in the field here at the DLCC and using the stage. So we wanted to have the parade sort of start down by where the old church used to be, and go down across the bridge by the rafting building, and the grass boulevard makes like a beautiful spot for everybody to watch the parade from, right? And then the parade can go down one side and actually go back the other side, so you can have a double-sided parade. So lots of parking and space and whatnot. I know it's different, but you know, different is good.
Thank you. Any further questions? Sorry, Councillor McKenzie. Yeah.
No questions. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for what you're doing, and I appreciate you taking the torch and carrying on. This is something that we've all grown up with, and after a couple of years of not having it, it'd be refreshing to have it come back. So I look forward to it. Thank you.
Our mics are working very well today. Thank you. One just last question from me, just for point of clarification, is something that Councillor Matheson brought up. So this is the $5,000 request is potentially seed money for stuff going forward. We're in a bit of a crunch here. If council is unable to donate the full $5,000, is there any sort of ceiling that you absolutely need to hit in order to make this function? If you can answer that, or maybe get back to staff. So.
I think we can make it happen regardless.
Okay.
But I think
The more the merrier?
the more the merrier. I
Okay,
think,
thank you.
we could make it
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
So just one on that. I just want to maybe in terms of funding, this is your first presentation, but you're still intending to move out to other organizations to solicit funding.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're still well, almost this week, hopefully solidifying like our road closure plans and that sort of thing. And once we have that super solidified, then I think we feel more comfortable going to other organizations and saying we are doing this on this date. Would you like to contribute, kind of thing? So.
Well, the word will get out after tonight for sure. So thank you for your presentation. Thank you. Lively Art Society is up next. Hi, Shirley. How's it going?
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
I took the word presentation literally, hopefully.
Like pictures.
Why not at all?
1 second. In a hurry. This is all I did 2 or 3 PowerPoints this year, and I've never got one to start right away. Almost there. There, theoretically, and there's always a lag. There we go.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Your 5 starts now.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me here today. My name is Shirley Frost, and I'm the president of the Wells Grey Lively Arts Society. And I'd like to, a bit of technology here. I would like to paint a picture of who we are and what we do. I don't want to assume that all council knows all about lively arts. We consist of about 23 volunteers who give their time, energy, and knowledge freely. Some are musicians, some are great at organizing, and some, like me, love paperwork. But we are here to help to bring live music and performance to our community. A smaller group of us seek out talent, as we call them, and artists, coordinate these artists, and provide technical support at the event. Our main regular events are, of course, Coffee House, but we do support and put on the concerts for the Food Bank Great Bake Sale and the Voices United Community Choir. We have in the past put together Home Roots, which was a small, intimate house-type concert, but we've also put on the bigger ticketed concerts, Cod Gone Wild and Natalie McMaster. Most of our events are here at Dutch Lake, inside or out, but we've also been at the Ski Hill and other venues. But we also like to help when we're asked, when practical. Sand getting into our equipment is not a good idea. Or anywhere else, actually, yeah. Keep it clean. Sorry. Oh, okay, when we do these events, winter months is the coffee houses, the food bank, and we have actually been at Winterfest. In the summer months, in July and August, a very small group of us put on Summer Stage. Summer Stage takes months of preparation. At the beginning of the year, we start to contact acts, begin negotiations, and get some dates booked. And later, when the weather warms up, gear is checked and organised, and stress levels begin to rise. Daveton and John, who are up on the picture, opened for us in 2022, but they also saved us from a cancellation the year before. They are the real stars. And who can forget hearing Daveton's beautiful, rich, deep voice singing Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison Blues. But we've also had some big names. The Henry Small Band, the Margate Sky Project, and the music has varied from country, folk, blues, and classic rock. And sometimes we've been blessed with some wonderful original songs, and some of them have been quite emotive. Susie, a Canadian Idol finalist, said she loved the Clearwater audiences because they really listened to the performance. Our audiences have been about, well, for last year anyway, were about 250 each night, weather and bugs permitting. Seniors relaxed alongside young parents, enjoying the music while children played happily and quite noisily nearby. About 30% or more were tourists who would come across from the beach, but the exact numbers of our audience couldn't actually be counted because quite a few stayed in their cars or just came and sat outside their house. However, what was lovely was the whole atmosphere was commented on. We love your vibe. What a great spot. And actually so much so that the local artisan vendors and Cruising Clearwater asked to join on our Thursday evenings. This gave our evenings an even more festive vibe for both the community and tourists alike. And I'd like to say tourists we included were people from Alberta and anybody who wasn't actually from our community. Oh, technology, there we go. As a group, we can cover our general expenses through membership fees, donations at our events, because they're normally free to come into, fundraising and small grants. Expenses are usually supplies for the events and the admin, of course, and the dreaded insurance. But we do need to maintain our equipment. Our cables and leads wear out. Don't ask me any more technical than that. I'm the paper girl. And of course, we understand the need for great promoting, and not everybody loves Facebook. Successful grants have allowed us to upgrade our soundboard and our LED lighting. saving us huge rental fees, but also enhancing both performer and audiences. What we are unable to pay for, we need your help. The biggest part and the bit I don't like to do is you have been very generous with your granting aid for 4,500 covering the 9 ACK. COVID and performance fees have gone up dramatically. We spend a lot of time trying to get the best. And the bit I would like to say is, I realize this is significantly more than we have done in the past, and we have agonized over this request. This is actually the lower end of what we really need. And that's why we ask for just doing this for 1 year. And we will review this for the next year. So please understand, this is not us, it is the performers. We come for free.
Thank you. Council questions for Shirley on this item. Councillor Sim.
Could you just confirm how many performances you had last year?
We had 8.
8. So if I get the 8, and based on the donations that have come in, it works out to be about $215 per evening. Am I right when I look at your?
From the bucket.
Yeah,
from the bucket is,
yeah.
I should, yeah, it's about that too, yeah.
So my question is because there is a cost to art. There's a cost to being able to enjoy it. And I'm just wondering if, and I mean, being part of the ski club, we're facing the same things. To bring in artists, it is just a big jump. And of course, you know, art and music and all of that, it makes our heart sings. But is there a thought on how to be a little more assertive at the front gate in collecting some fees?
I would actually, from last year, we did COVID. We had 3 gates. They were extremely hard to man. We tried with the numbers, we were only allowed so many in. Managing it was incredibly difficult. People would wander in and out, then halfway through a performance, they'd turn up. It may be something we have to really think about creatively. I mean, that's part of it. If we're not, you know, if we can't get the budget we want, we're going to have to be creative and put our hand in and ask for somebody else as well. So I'm just hoping you'll be kind to us.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Frizzle?
Have you asked for funding elsewhere?
Yes, last year, and hopefully this year again, I'll ask for the BC Arts Council and the BC Gaming Grant. Neither of those I was successful. I know. But lessons learned, so I will try again.
Yeah, thank you. Further comments or questions?
No.
And then Councillor Sim. Yeah, thank you for that. I particularly enjoyed bringing the old cars out. And you know, and you kind of went a little extra there by having my car in the back corner of the picture there. So
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Big.
So there's a win there. I think this is more of a comment than anything. I think there's some opportunities for fundraising for you here as well from the community. There's a lot of generosity in this community, and especially with the clubs that would probably love to partner with events on this sort of thing, the way the car club did this year. So yes, thank you for that. Councillor Sim, you're good. Thank you, Shirley, for coming on out. We're just gonna try to fix something here. And up next is Dunn Folkin Around. And we're just going to change out some fittings on the mic here because, you know, that's right up your alley, mics and equipment and things like that. Thank you. Thanks for coming out, Scott. Fire away when you're ready.
That's the other brother. Yeah, about me. I'm Matt Sitch. I moved from Alberta about 6 years ago. And yeah, I live in Clearwater. Well, live out by Dunn Lake. I'm a carpenter by trade. Spend all my time snowboarding, being outside, hiking, all the fun stuff that this valley has to offer. I volunteer at the Clearwater Ski Hill as well as the Wells Gray Search and Rescue. And I started Dunn Folkin Around, which is a music festival for anybody and everybody, which takes place on our property out by Dunn Lake in May. It's on Mother's Day weekend. So it's a way to give back to my amazing mom and the rest of the moms out there. It's a small family-run festival, so gives people a good sense of community and good vibes all around. Recently, we've incorporated as a non-for-profit. We got a small group of family and friends on board who all share the same passion for music, art, and of course can't be done with all the volunteers who show up year after year to help make this happen. Currently, we started out in 2018, just kind of as a dream and an idea to go ahead with this, and started out as 50 people. And then in 2019, we had about 180. And then last year we fired up again and we had about 130 attend. We're in the middle of developing a website where we're going to do online ticket sales and all that thing, which will help big time, because before it was just word of mouth and show up and pick up your ticket. We've reached out to a couple grants out there, one being Tourism Innovation Lab, which I was among one of the finalists and managed to get that one. So that's been huge. It came with a mentorship. So I've been paired up with a mentor from Kamloops for the next 3 months to kind of help me out in a lot of the areas that I need it. Dunn Folkin Around is very unique because it offers a very diverse lineup of artists from all over the country, Western Canada mainly. Anything from solo artists to 5-piece bands and everything in between. And it's very unique because the setting is like no other. Everyone just comes and pitches a tent and makes themselves a home for the weekend. So yeah, good connections are made, friendships that'll last a lifetime, everything. It's something very, very special. It's been supporting a lot of local businesses in town through various materials and all the restaurants, grocery stores, liquor stores, gas stations, porta potty rentals, all that stuff that comes with it. And what else we got here? And yeah, in a low tourism time, like May, there isn't a lot going on. Our tourism hasn't really picked up yet. So it brings out a steady flow of people to the area who generally fall in love with it, and they find themselves coming back kind of throughout the year and enjoy summer and winter. So yeah, our goals are just to keep her going, keep it small and intimate and family friendly, keep to the roots. We want to develop some good positive relationships with and partnerships throughout different groups in the community, as well as Símpcwemc. Without them, a lot of this wouldn't be possible because every year they've donated my neighboring properties as parking and camping. So that has been incredible because that couldn't happen without them. And yeah, that's about all I got here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. That clarified a lot for me. Councilors, questions for Matt? Councilor Sim first.
Congratulations on getting the Spark Award. That's kind of a big deal, actually.
Yeah.
And especially to do it in such a short period of time. In the documents that were submitted to council, the only thing that I didn't see is what your revenue was.
Didn't make anything. I don't do it for that.
No, but do you charge
even.
for it?
Oh, yes.
Is there a ticket
Yeah,
fee?
it is a
That's what
ticketed event.
that's what I missed. So if
Yeah.
you said that last year, I think you said that there was 250 people. Did I misunderstand?
130.
130. And so what's the
ticket sales last year? Weekend pass was for $80.
$80? Okay, thank you very much.
And yeah, that covers wide variety of artists throughout the weekend, Friday night, Saturday, and we'd love to carry it on until Sunday too.
Well, we've just heard art is not cheap anymore.
Nope.
So thank you.
Councilor McKenzie.
Yeah, thanks Matt for coming in. You answered that you had talked to Símpcwemc. That was one of my first questions. And what TNRD have you approached them at all? Yourself?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions, Councilor? No. Okay, thank you for the presentation. You actually answered 2 or 3 questions that I had in there, especially around Societies Acts and Corporation and things like that, and where this was and the scope of things. But so thank you for that.
No problem.
And
Thank you.
good luck. Thank you. I love this mic thing. Anyways, Clearwater Slo-pitch is up next if you're in the room. Just introduce yourself and fire away when you're ready.
I'm Lori Watson, and I'm the president of the Clearwater Slo-pitch. I don't have a presentation, but one of the things we're asking for is we have 2 tournaments a year, and we also have league. And with us trying to rebuild from the start, we started last year off in a negative. And so we had to kind of build up from that. And we do have extra costs. Like we have, we're going to get kick sliding bases. And those are quite pricey. They're like $1,200. So we have like some things that we need to get. Like if we get regular bases, for example, we may pay like $150 for a set. But the problem is we might get a half a year out of that. Now you times that by 2 diamonds. Right? So we're looking at the long range. These bases, we have some from when I played baseball in the early 90s that is actually down at the diamonds, and they're actually in pretty good shape. So when we get this set, we're hoping they're going to be the same, and then we'll have a parts order list and kind of cheat and fix the other ones we have. But we do bring a lot of people into the community. For example, our May long weekend, it used to be men's fastball, but we kind of took it over last year, and we're going to make Slo-pitch hopefully big again in the valley. Like Barrier had no league at all. We had 8 teams, and 3 of them were actually pipeliner teams. Yeah, and so we've had a lot of real good response. Like for the May long weekend, we have a team that comes from Drayton Valley. We have a couple teams from Kamloops. The team I play on, we have members that come from Prince George, Mackenzie, even Kamloops, and even Clearwater and Vavenby. So 2 of the teams are kind of mixed from the whole kind of province. And most people that know ball players, we don't really like to cook for ourselves. So we do a lot of takeout and we do a lot of drinking. So during that weekend, I actually talked to Canco after the weekend had passed. And I asked him how their weekend was. And he said they were so surprised how busy they were because they didn't realize how many people that actually come. So we had 8 teams that actually showed. We had 12 that actually booked, but because they couldn't camp as a whole as a team, they actually canceled. So we had 8 teams in total. You have a minimum 12 to 14 people per team. So you times that by 8. And then you're going to have spouses that don't play, and then there's kids. And yeah, we just want to play ball and not worry about life in general. So we spend a lot of money in the community.
Thank you. Yes, my stepsister has come over for the last, I don't know how many years that it's been happening. She never brings me any beer or anything, so there's no conflict of interest. Questions from council on this? Councillor Matheson and then Councillor.
Yeah, I just see on your, you're asking a 564, 3-day rental, including beer gardens. Can you just?
Okay, so rental for the diamonds are $149.05 per day, and we pay GST on it. For the league, we pay $525, including GST, for rental to use it between mid-April to usually almost the end of July. Then our beer gardens, we pay $30 plus tax per day on top of it. And then if we have any concession down there, we also have to, the person who's doing the concession has to pay down there to be there. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question because I kind of went somewhere else.
Yeah, no, that's good. That breaks it down.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Frizzle.
Just to clarify, what you're asking for is in-kind benefits. You're not asking. for
Yes, we're asking for
That-
in kind.
That's what I'm
please.
clear. wanted to-
Thank you. Yeah, waiving of fees versus actual cash at this point.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Further, Councilor Herring, did you have a, nope, okay. Thank you for your presentation and thank you for bringing an event into town twice a year that's so popular and a lot about what we want to do with the community, especially coming out of COVID. How hard was COVID on you is my big question with the tournaments.
I was actually very surprised about our turnout this last year, right? We were expecting only 6 teams for league. So, and then the tournament, the first one was a last minute thing. So, yeah, we'll be more prepared this year.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Up next is Wells Gray Outdoors Club, and I think is this Juanita for half marathon? Come on down.
My favorite subject.
Yes. Well, Christmas I hear is up there too.
Oh, yes, we have to talk.
For those who don't know me, my name is Juanita Allen, and I'm one of the directors for the Wells Gray Outdoors Club. And so this will be our 3rd year for hosting the half marathon. So it consists of a 2.5 kids run, a 5K walk run, a 10 5K walk run, and then a 21K. I just wanted to say that we had about 120 participants, would have been a little bit more, but some people like pregnancy injuries, COVID, could make it. We actually had a couple come as far as Colorado for this run last year. This year's run is going to take place August 26th. I really don't have a lot to say. Probably forgetting a few things. Yes, I am. All the participants couldn't say enough about our volunteers and our town. They just bragged about how friendly everybody was here, and it did bring a lot of tourism into our town. And that has been one of my main goals, is to bring tourism into Clearwater. And many good things too. It actually brought in a lot of family bringing together, like there was kids runs, just doing things as a family. It was really good to see it. A lot of volunteers and great door prizes and the community just coming together. It was really awesome. And I look forward to this year. And I will bug everybody, probably.
Thank you. Questions on this? Councilor Frizzle.
It's, I always like to see how things interconnect. And last year through the marathon, there was a hockey school, and 2 mothers came up and ran just because they didn't want to sit in the arena anymore. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot of people actually didn't know about the run too, but they were camping at that new campsite and just saw the poster and just came in and said, hey, can we do the run? And they just came and did it. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Further questions from council? Councilor Sim.
There was a few of us there who got the privilege of volunteering and got to see that all of your cross-country trips to do advertising and everything really paid off, and just the wide breadth of that advertising just put Clearwater on the map. Definitely seeing the breadth of participation and how many people just appreciated it. And we had a few people up from Barrie who said, why have you been keeping this a secret? I mean, the answer was obvious, but whatever. But yeah, just to commend the work of the Wells Gray Outdoors Club and creating a recreation site that is becoming truly multi-seasonal. So thanks.
Thank you. And as soon as the posters are done, it'll be a road trip from Red Deer. So usually my husband and I, we will go up one way all the way to Red Deer, and we will come back another way and hand out posters. And then it'll be Kelowna, Salmon Arm, Vernon, Armstrong. And then I'm also going to get posters, and I've already got my list out of where they're getting shipped away to. So lots of road trips, and I love road trips. Anything for Clearwater.
Thank you. Further questions? I did notice, because I did volunteer a little bit and watch people suffer going up the hill, a lot of sponsorships. How is the sponsorship thing working for you? Do the sponsors help you get the word out on this? Because there seem to be a lot of specific to running and outdoor activity sponsors there as well?
I think a lot of the sponsors will probably put it on their webpage or their Facebook pages. We also have applied for TNRD and the community forces, so they're totally on board. The T-shirts, they're already in. Very organized, and so they'll be ready. So yeah, it's kind of long.
All coming along.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work on this, and thank you for your presentations on this tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye. Do we have anybody from YCS here tonight? Yeah, come on down. Councillor Frizzle has to leave the room. Okay, we'll give it a second to get everything up to speed.
This is on, okay. So I'm Danica Kelly. I work for Yellowhead Community Services. I'm actually here on behalf of Carrie Milner Carnes tonight. She submitted the application, but she can't make it. So I am just asking for not a ton of funding, just we're asking for $500 just to help supplement some of our events that we run in the community. So we're asking for a supplementation for the babies of 2022 and the teddy bear picnic, which is run through Family Literacy Week, which is next week. So what we're going to be using the funds for is to help just bring some additional excitement to our events, because COVID has kind of put a hold. We haven't had the teddy bear picnic in 2 years because of COVID, and we were able to hold the baby party the last 2 years only because we held them outside and we had to limit our numbers. So we were a little more creative for that, but we don't have any additional funding for these events. And basically the funding will help supplement some food, and we have some gift bags. And then if we do have funding, we'd like to bring in a photographer again for the baby party so that they have a little reminder of the event. So for the baby party, we actually will be hopefully running that in July of this year. And then we'll have, we offer some gift bags that we ask for donations from the community for. And then we have like a little picnic. We have the district usually donate so that we can use the splash park for the event. And then it's just a great way for families to connect with others in the community. And as for the teddy bear picnic, this helps to bring families and children together to celebrate and take part in literacy activities in a fun environment. We have food, stories, songs, and children are encouraged to bring their favorite teddy bear to participate. Each stuffy receives a checkup for their teddy bear from our teddy bear doctor, who will be Carrie this year. And then the children will receive a small gift of a book, and then we usually do a draw for a chapter's gift card. And we also have someone from the RCMP coming to read stories. So it's just a fun event for the community and for children and their families. So that is all.
Thank you. Questions for Danica? Sorry, Councillor Bratton, did you put your hand up there? Scratching your head. Sorry, Councillor Sim.
So I remember that in 2018, it was the first one that Mayor Blackwell went to, and I believe you were pretty chuffed by it. And we had some fun conversations, and just seeing the images, it's actually fairly tragic, the fact that it hasn't happened.
I know. Yes,
it's
a nice
it's
event.
really sad, because if you think about it, these are the future citizens, and this is the way that the youngest ones all gather with their families, and there's some good rooting in it. So I want to thank you very much for being enthusiastic and picking up that torch and sharing the photos. So thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I know it's nice to look back and see how small they all were. It's sad.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Herring. Councillor Pratt.
So obviously YCS being one of the big social service providers, you guys are in on this, but to me, I see lots of public health value in this. I see tons of value from a social services perspective. Has MCFD or Interior Health participated in these events at all?
No. So MCFD used to be our primary funding when we were Success by 6, and then they actually cut the funding quite significantly, and most of the earlier service providers were laid off as contractors. And the only reason I wasn't is because I'm employed by YCS. So they basically provide funding for wages and nothing else. We haven't gone the other route though. So we do lots of other grant applications, but most of them will only provide physical things. So we'll buy toys and materials, but as for food and events, they're not really big on funding that stuff.
I just wonder if their maternal health program might
Yeah,
be something to touch base with, but yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Pratt, no?
Really fast. It's a very lovely program. It's the connection made between the parents, the moms that come, and then the babies meet each other. I do find that it is a very worthwhile program. You do a good job.
It's a really great opportunity for the parents to even see the services that are out there for their children at that age, because I know even when I had a baby, I wasn't aware of a lot of the programs that are out there. So it just kind of gets them in the community and aware of what's going on, and that they don't just have to stay home with their baby.
Just one more question. Do they get like a welcome basket?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
They do.
That's part of the gifty.
That's part of the gift bag. Yeah. So we do try to get a lot of local donations for that too, but we also try to support local businesses. So that's where the funding comes in. But
Thank you. Further questions? I think Councillor Sim, I referred to them, the babies of that year, as the potential taxpayers of 2036. So, you know.
You were very forward thinking
Yeah.
with how you approach that event.
No, it was a very fun event, and thank you for putting that on. And thank you for your presentation tonight.
thank you. And in our application, are we allowed to request you as at our baby party? to help speak?
attend?
Yes.
Sorry, what day is it? And then
I haven't got a date set yet. I'll
so-
contact you if I do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Myself or a deputy mayor will attend, but if a deputy mayor attends, I'll make them show up in a teddy bear costume. Anyways, thank you. Thank you for your presentation too tonight. And thank you to all the presenters. Thank you for keeping on time. That was fantastic. We managed to get through everybody in about an hour, so that's fantastic. Do we want to take a short recess to reset, or are we good to go?
Chair Grieve at SD 73 always takes this opportunity to say we would love to have you stay, but you are welcome to leave.
I'm gonna say that I need to refill my water, so let's take 5 minutes, so 7:37-ish. Okay, we'll get started here in a second as soon as Councillor Matheson reappears. Okay. We'll get back to it with item 8.1, adoption of the minutes of council meetings, minutes of the regular council meeting held January 3rd, 2023. I believe Councillor Sim has also already submitted some corrections to that, or is on format. Okay. Okay. Understanding. Minutes.
I do have a couple of questions in regard to the minutes. So we had made some motions where we had on January 3rd to update 37 East plan to include in the financial plan, but so it doesn't necessarily reflect it. It seems to, I'm having a hard time with the new system of on table items. So we had actually addressed some of these things, but the minutes don't reflect it, I don't think.
Leave that to staff to comment on later, maybe. Give you a second there. Mr. Thomas.
1 second, I'm just going through the minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
On page 9 of your package, or page 3 of the minutes itself, would those 3 motions at the top cover the direction of council from the last meeting?
Would be on page 9 of your package, Res 3-2023, 4 and 5, 2023.
So I just had it that there was some, just to reflect that 37E be included in the financial plan, anti-racism be referred to the equity, diversity and inclusion group. Tabled was the sewer services to infrastructure. In the business bylaw, it was tabled until it could be put into a work plan. Are those accurately reflected?
So the minutes captures the resolution of the council. On the new agenda, you would have the new tabled items for the minutes of, sorry, the bylaw itself.
Okay.
Under section 11.
Okay, that's great. I just want, I would just wanted to,
Yep.
It struck me, so thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to move the minutes while you're over there, or would somebody else like to move the
I'm gonna let
minutes?
somebody else do it. The only other one that I will do is for the minutes in the grant and aid, is I had asked if the grant and aid event requests, the grant and aid events, so there was some events, requests could be funded under the DOC events budget, not just events under the RCE portfolio. So just clarifying that for those who might be reading it.
Is that 15.5?
That is a great question. Next time I do this, I'm going to number it like you've just nicely done.
15.5, page 7 of the package.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you. I move to accept the minutes as presented.
Seconder
The
on,
amended.
yeah. Seconder on that. Thank you, Councilor McKenzie. Any further discussion on the minutes? If none, all those in favor. Thank you, and that passes. Moving on to item 10.1, development variance permit, DUP 2202. This is just a notice of intent, Mr. Thomas. Our staff, are you going to speak to this?
That's correct. It is a notice of intent. We need direction from council if to move forward with the next step of notifying the appropriate parties in the area who will be impacted.
Does council have any questions of staff on this? Councillor Sim through to staff.
I just wondered if there was some maps that we could see of this area. There's a reference into the report that the water is, it's going to be more than 150, but that's based on the panhandle of it. I also know this, that the applicant has done that there was a verbal report on maybe what costs were. I noticed that that was similar language that had been used to his request around the sewer. Is it appropriate that we actually ask for a written quote, given the fact that there is an exemption on it?
A written quote from the applicant themselves?
Yeah, so it says, I asked for a verbal one, but it's the same language that was also included when they asked about the sewer. Because and in the applicant, he had said, you know, realizing I didn't know that I needed the water and the sewer together, I'm now coming back for it. It just seems to me it's so close that I would be interested in seeing what a quote would be, and not just verbal, but an actual written quote for it, if that's appropriate or not.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Thomas, but he's asking not to have to supply water and sewer. Is that...
But part of his argument is because of the verbal quote that he got. But it seemed a bit vague in the request about what the quote was. It is close, which is why I'm asking for a map for it, because it says that there's a curb stop by the Hop and Hog. In the documentation, I couldn't see where all this comes together. And I just think that there should be some clarity on this particular project. We are going to be possibly caught in the future in the fact that we have made an exemption. We've made an exemption on the sewer because of the costs involved, and the district infrastructure seems to be on the other side. But at the same time, I recognize that we don't have any maps that support where this is from our staff.
Mr. Thomas, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we do have internal schematics of our water and sewer infrastructure as it is in the ground. What precipitated some of the challenges associated with this is the property owner had in their own records as-built drawing that were incorrect, and they relied upon that information to make their decision in which application they will file, even though staff had prompted them to consider the water and sewer jointly. As a result of their reliance on that information, we are here with two separate applications. We can certainly provide it. We took an additional step of verifying with the province's database for wells information, because that property also had a private well on it at one point. And we also had Public Works do an on-site visit to confirm what was happening on the ground rather than relying exclusively on our water sewer infrastructure schematics and drawings. So yes, we can provide that information. And the question council would have to consider is, do you want the information before a decision or after the decision?
Further on that, anything? I had a question. Now I've just completely lost it. We'll come back. I'll ask it of you later. Any further questions on this?
I'm just going to go back to make sure that I'm hearing what you're saying. Can you explain to me again who made the assumption?
The property owner.
The property made an assumption, and that assumption did that impact council's decision?
No, it did not.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was hearing that right.
Sorry, and that I did remember my question now. So at this point, the subdivision is for one large lot in the back. If that subdivision, for clarification, if that future lot wish to be subdivided further, it would come back to council. And what would the rules that would apply to that new subdivision would be? Water and sewer connection if it was smaller lots, something along those lines?
So subdivision files don't normally go before council. Those are processed by the planning department, etc. The current bylaw for water and sewer requires the RL1 property to physically connect to the district's infrastructure for water at this point, because of the subdivision filed for subdividing the commercial one from the rural section at the back. I refer you to page 15 of the package for a diagram of that. In order to exempt the property owner from having to connect the RL1 property, the rural lot at the back, they need a variance from council authorizing that decision. And this is the application before council at this point.
Thank you. Further questions, Councilor Frizzle?
Just to clarify, so if we did a variance for this property as is right now, and in the future they came to say they wanted to subdivide, then they would have to connect to the water and sewer.
The bylaw would apply again, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further comments? And this is for notice of intent, so this goes out to public? Or
that's correct.
To local consultation?
I believe there's a specified radius in the bylaw of who needs to be notified of this intention. And then there will be a public hearing process, I believe, for council in a future meeting.
Okay, so this is not, we're not deciding anything other than putting it out to notice of intent for today. Councilor Herring, did you have further?
Just curious about what this sets as a prerequisite, or like an example precedent. There we go. Just because what I envision, somebody comes back and says, I want to split this in two, but I also don't want to do water because it's only 2 lots and it's RL again. So they'd have to come back for this variance again. But are they going to have a stronger position to argue from, given that we had already granted an exemption for this same piece of land once before?
They can make the argument. Whether the argument has merits is a separate question, because council is the arbiter of that decision and it's the will of council. And you would have discretion, but you would also have the previous example of council making that specific decision. But at the end of the day, you have discretion in your authority.
Further questions?
I have one.
Councillor.
If that property was to sell with the exemption already applied to it, or whatever, does it follow the property, or does the new owner, is it grandfathered in, or do they have to get water to it?
The subdivision is for and attached to the property, regardless of the owner. Right now, the subdivision of this property with the commercial front and the rural property is not yet completed and cannot be completed until either they physically connect to the water system as required by the bylaw, or council varies that requirement, dispensing it, and then the subdivision process could be completed with all the other conditions, the preliminary layout review, basically the conditions the district gave the property owner are completed.
Councillor Sim, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, it's just that I'm trying to understand. I was quite clear on the sewer because it was across the road and it was going to be, it was going to be inexpensive. We maybe hadn't thought about our infrastructure. We've talked about that around the table. But in this report, I'm reading that the water, is close to that 150 meters. I'm not seeing that documented on the map, so I'm having a hard time visualizing it. Because it's so close, the same rationale for granting the exemption doesn't sit the same way with me. It seems that it should. I hear the planning department, it's like they're saying, you've already granted one exemption, so you should probably follow suit. But the conditions aren't the same, is the fact that there's water on that side of the road. I can't see it. I don't know where it is on these maps. So I'm struggling with moving forward
So
tonight.
it's on a map on page 30. And at this particular point, we are just putting this out for notice of intent, so we'll come back to council.
So if I can draw your attention to, is it recognizable where Hog is located from this map for council?
On page 30, is that where you're on?
Page 30, yes. Right, it looks like the water curb stop is at that driveway just off Clearwater Valley Road, going into the Hop and Hog. So they would have to go north in Clearwater Valley Road to the Panhandle, and from the Panhandle to the R to connect it.
That's the 110 meters listed on the map.
Which map?
The Panhandle, it says water 110 meters on page 30, sorry, and sewer 134 meters. So I assume that's the distance.
That's the distance from the beginning of the RL1 property to the road right of way.
Then there would be the additional distance from the curb stop up to that.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Councillor Sim.
But this is an
Councillor
ortho image provided by the owner. So has the district verified this? Because this is easy to do, but
This is not the image from the owner.
okay. It says, what is ortho image and
this is from TNRD mapping that the district has been using for a number of years for lot information and addressing and subdivision and all of that. All the lot information for the District of Clearwater is not housed by the District of Clearwater. We have had a relationship with TNRD for that.
Okay, so this is the TNRD supply map. Further questions before we go to vote on this, or would somebody like to move this?
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Can I ask a really stupid question? What does annotated by owner mean?
I'd have to verify that.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand.
Sorry, it's the green line here is annotated by the owner. So he's drawn in where he believes the sewer is and the length. So this looks like an old image from the last development variance that he just sort of reused. So the green line is the approximate location of the district sewer, and the green line along the Panhandle where he's saying it's 110 meters is the length of the sewer that he would have to add in. So again, it seems it's from the previous development variance permit, but gives us still an idea of where the water would be.
Can I add to that?
Thank you. Please do.
The property, this map is from TNRD's, I can't remember the name of the platform off the top of my head. but
ArcGIS.
Thank you. The owner had separate, very dated, as-built drawing of the district infrastructure. The annotation would have been planning, or the District of Clearwater relying on the information supplied by the owner with the as-built that they had in their possession, and the information of the distance between the RL1 and the district sewer system.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? If not, would somebody like to move this so this can go to public?
Well, I'd like to, I guess I'm still just struggling with the fact that because right across the street is where the new subdivision is. And so surely the District of Clearwater's got to have some imaging of water, don't we? Anyway, I can't move it forward. I would need to see what the district has.
Thank you. This is just going out to public and notice of intent, so it will come back to council and a public hearing multiple times. Does somebody wish to move this? Thank you. Some seconder?
Second that.
Thank you, Councilor McKenzie. All those in favor? That passes. Moving on to unfinished business, reconsideration of tabled items 11.1. Staff report 37 East. Draft working plan on diversity. Regular council meeting. Sewer services. Regular council meeting CMHA. And staff report business bylaw updates. Any comments on any of those?
I thought we dealt with these.
I think we're good to leave them where they are for right now.
I don't understand how we leave them because it's probably good to understand the process of this. But when council voted to move the anti-racism to be deferred to the the equity, diversity, and inclusion group, how does it still stay on there? Like, wouldn't it be referred to that group and then the group refers it back to council? I'm not sure why it's still sitting here when we made an action for it to go somewhere.
I don't believe we actually did because I was unwilling to vote on it till I actually read it again. So I think that we suggested that it go there, but we didn't actually make a motion on that.
It was.
It was moved to refer the draft anti-racial discrimination and anti-racial racism policy to the diversity, equity, and inclusion working group. We should have removed those items from the agenda as tabled items. The 37 Park East, the motion in the previous meeting was to direct staff to provide an update, which we did in this agenda. It was not moved to remove it from the table item.
No, but we did ask to have it, that it be removed to the draft budget for a new implication. So I felt it had been moved into the financial process. So for me, what's important is if we're going to have these, how do we move them in using the language that moves them along so that they don't keep popping back? And I felt that we had done that because at 37 East, it's been, it was delayed. It was brought back for the new costs. And then we said, what could be the update? And the mayor actually had a comment is there a way that we could look at this and how we could do it in different phases and stages and be part of the budget process? So it's still there, but I felt we had moved it into the financial process.
Didn't get that. I thought we still wanted to know. Okay.
Well, as part of the financial process to get the financial implications, because it's $83,000 over as it stood in the last quote. And so we put it back, well, what's the update? Because that was from 2 years ago.
Okay, how about we leave it on table and get clarification at the next staff meeting? Councilor Frizzle, would you like to comment?
I thought that we were going to move it to the strat plan and decide what we actually wanted to do with that section. I thought that we were going to change that.
Somebody want to make a motion to take it to strat plan?
I'll make that motion because I.
So hold on a second.
Okay.
I'll let staff speak to this.
We're gonna get there.
Okay. Are we still good to go with potentially a motion on that? Okay.
Just.
Councilor Herring?
Just a quick question. I'm confused about this because of in the minutes, resolution 4/2023 saying pretty much exactly that. So I thought this was already done last time.
We remove it?
Was that to strat plan or to?
Yeah, financial plan.
planning? Two
Financial
different
plan.
things.
Well, I guess, yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Well, I said financial plan, so you're right. That's what I said.
So if it's already there, then we'll just clean it up. Thank you. I don't think there's anything else under that section. No reconsideration of deferred items. Mayor's report, I'll be quick. Yesterday I met with RCMP and a concerned animal advocate on this situation in town. It's made the news. The last 10 days or so, I've spoken with 6 mayors now and 1 regional district person across the province, 7.5 of the province, on healthcare issues. Did 2 mornings of office hours, agenda setting, also prepping for hospital board this week with the TNRD, 2 sessions down there, plus 2 days of meetings specific to the TNRD, and a lot more going on. I think I probably had more phone calls on things this last 2 weeks than in quite a long time. Council reports. Councilor Bratton.
I don't have a report, but I would like to commend the district staff for their quick response time with the water main break. And I had a couple questions just to add to it. You guys used the Voyant Alert, which I thought was pretty a good use of that. But did we follow up with the Voyant Alert when it was called off because plans had changed? And what is our other avenue? Because in Weyerhaeuser, there are some individuals that don't do social media of any kind or computer electronics. So do we do phone calls or house-to-house calls? I'm not completely sure how we do disaster relief type things. And sorry.
Through myself to staff, do you want to clarify that process if you could? Or council knowledge?
So it was not a disaster relief. There was 1 house impacted with loss of water. The repair process included throttling down the pressure in the main, identify the source of the leak, and do the repairs without having a backflow into the system, which would have compromised the water system. The notification process the district used was Facebook, the typical channel where people in the community use. And I do take your points that those typical channels will not capture everybody. There have been instances in the past where we would make phone calls. There have been instances where we would go door to door. I cannot confirm at this specific moment whether or not those were done. I know we relied on Facebook and Voyant Alert as a primary model.
Thank you.
And just to add, Voyant Alert you can sign up your home phone for it as well. So with seniors in the community, we have spoken to seniors, the seniors group, that if they don't have cell phone, if they don't have a computer, it's fine. It can still do an automated voice when we do the Voyant Alert. It will go straight to their home phone as a message. So that is available to them as well.
I also do believe you can sign up on your landline for that as well. Yeah, so.
That's fantastic. I'm just curious to get that communication out because, I mean, we're going to have more situations, just as a suggestion, maybe we could help in getting that word out. And do we have a system in place? So with your phone calls and going door to door, is that like a set plan in place if we do, say, have fires come back into the community or flood and communications are down?
I think we're going to have a whole workshop on that at some point.
Okay, that's just my
But
curiosity.
yes, I mean, generally in a water main break where there would be contamination of the water, that kind of thing happens anyways, door to door.
Yeah.
Okay, any further comments?
I have one other ask. If Trans Mountain is winding down and they're going to be finishing soon, and I'm wondering if they would be interested in coming to give us a little chit chat. And there's a write up I see in here, and we could meet them and whatnot, and see what the plans are with the property up there and what not.
Okay, yeah, we can make that request. The property up there is actually owned by the TNRD. The camp, an update on the situation on the camp and that sort of thing would be good though, for sure. Thank you. Councillor Frizzle.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Thomas.
I just need clarification on expectation. Is staff being directed to reach out to Trans Mountain for a presentation? If so, I would love a motion. Previous direction from council was to ease off those requests.
So would a written update satisfy?
I'm kind of just there are partners in the community, and maybe we could have a little connection with them. I understand they're finishing. I don't know. Maybe
would you like to make a motion that the staff ask Trans Mountain to present at mutually agreed to
short presentation,
5-10 minutes
or less?
Okay, thank you. So you're making that as a motion. Do I have a seconder on that motion? Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, that is moved, and we'll leave that to staff to connect with Trans Mountain and see when they're available, and we can fit them in. Councillor Frizzle.
Thank you. I attended the Tourism World's Gray meeting on January 10th. They have applied for a rather substantial grant to do some upgrades at the Visitor Information Center, and they just got word that day that they've moved into the second level. So they were giving more details, and it's to update their furnace, do some flooring, have the front doors motorized, so it'll open up for handicapped and whatnot. Words are leaving me. So they're hoping to get that, and it's a substantial loan or grant, so that'd be really great if they got that. BC Parks has said that they may have 2 extra crew members, and they also may have 2 ambassadors that will be able to do activities with kids in campgrounds and do walks, nature walks, and etc. That's not written in stone yet, but it's something they definitely have in the works. So that would be really good if they could do that. Mo Falls stairs, they've got funding for that. So those are going to be repaired, and Trophy Mountain Trails and parking lot are going to be worked on come spring. So there's lots of things happening there. The Wells Gray Outdoor Club did say that their membership is higher than it's ever been for the cross-country ski trails. They had 31 kids out for Jackrabbit program, and they're having their Viking thing.
Birch Lake.
Birch Lake.
Yeah. 2 Viking hats. I should remember.
Yeah,
this.
They're having that on the 1st of February, and the Rotary is supposed to be having their fishing derby on the 29th of January, but I think that's pretty iffy with the weather the way it is right now. So we'll see. But so, and Claire Hanna is finished as of February 10th. She'll be on mat leave, and they have put out an offer for someone to take a position for the year. And then last night I attended the Trails Task Force, and the discussion was mostly on the trails for the Triple Decker Falls Trail that goes from the trailhead out here to Triple Decker Falls. Mr. Thomas put a request into the province for a 2-year extension. They came back with a 1-year extension, so we'll be moving forward on that. Where we looked over the my God, I'm losing it. TOF. Terms of reference, we went over the terms of reference, clarified a few things there. We formed a subcommittee to plan opening ceremonies for the 3 trails that were completed this year. And we're looking at signs and baffles for coming down from the roundabout to Wellsgray Park for bikers to slow down because they can come racing off that and it's kind of dangerous. So they're looking into doing that. So there was lots of great discussion on the trails and future plans. And there is going to be a meeting set up for a group to discuss what's next, priorities and whatnot. So I think all in all, it was a pretty good meeting. You guys can fill it in if you want to.
Anything else on yours?
And I just had agenda setting, and that's about it for me. Thanks.
Thank you for your report. Councillor Herring.
Nothing to report.
Councillor McKenzie.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Blackwell. Not a lot to report from these last couple of weeks, but definitely a hot topic has been the property assessment that has recently come out. Talking with a lot of people around town, one guy in particular, he was hit with 110% increase and he's absolutely appalled with that. So not everyone's too thrilled about it. There are some people that seem to like seeing that high assessment on their paperwork. But with all that being said, I just want, if we could send something out to remind people, anyone that wants to appeal, that our deadline is January 31st, just to remind everyone this, because there's a lot of people that have been leading in that direction. And
yeah. So how would you like to do that? Facebook or it's now the 15th of the month, so
It won't be a
we would be able
newsletter.
to get it together. We could do it on website, we could do it on Facebook, we could do it on social media.
yeah, I guess just our.
Can we just leave that to staff to maybe get a notice out to staff? Yeah, staff is nodding head. We get that out on Facebook, so
Yeah.
reminders, and I'll continue to put out educational stuff.
Yeah, just a reminder. And
It has to be-
I'm sure they
we
know
have a
it, but
Newsletter. Hey, look at that. It's in the newsletter.
perfect.
So it is going out there.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank
it
you.
has been a hot topic in town for sure. Yeah. Thank you. Anything further on?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Councillor Herring, did you have a comment or question on that?
Just a question. I don't know if anyone remembers. Do you remember the assessment had a number of appeals that are typically successful that they gave in the presentation? Does anyone remember what that number was?
It's actually not bad, but my understanding from conversations in the community that there are a lot of people asking for assessments. So BC Assessment will be having a pretty deep dive by the sounds of it with the number of assessment, reassessment requests here. It really, it's not surprising to me, but at the same time, I think some of those, the 110% need to be explained, at least to property owners as to why, and then looked at as well. So I have a feeling they're going to be spending a lot of time looking at Clearwater in the next couple of weeks. The only town, I did a quick survey of communities within our region. The only town that actually exceeded us, Sun Peaks, and actually no, Sun Peaks was lower than us. Clinton was the only other one that was higher than us in average assessments going up on residential specific properties. They were over 30% this year, but the housing market in Clinton values were incredibly low there for a long time. You know, so they were a cheap buy up until quite recently, comparative to the rest of the region. So, yes, a lot of sticker shock out there, but it doesn't necessarily translate into the amount of taxes you'll pay. So everybody hold on and we'll continue the education process. Anything further, Councillor McKenzie?
It's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Matheson.
Pretty quiet. Attended the chamber meeting with Councillor Sim, and they seem to be moving in the right direction with a bigger role in the community, a few new directors on board, things like that. Attended the Trails Committee with Councillor Frizzle, and I think she's pretty much covered all the details there. And I do have an appointment with the local assessor this week, a phone appointment. And so I'll be able to give you a little bit more feedback on that. But when I was talking to them previous to that, they said exactly what the mayor said, that Clearwater basically has been behind the provincial standards or the provincial level for housing prices and valuation. And he says, now it's time we're catching up. So I don't know. Hopefully I'll be able to hold their feet to the fire on that one.
Yeah, I think it should be noted that assessment value was set at July 1st-ish of last year. It doesn't reflect current housing prices.
Yeah,
So a lot
exactly.
of that sticker shock where people are seeing a downturn in prices, that's where it's coming in, and it will correct again next July 1st if there is a variance either way.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you for that, and I look forward to your insight into the process. So let us know how that goes. Councillor Sim.
Yeah, we bought a house in Clinton for our sister-in-law, and 3 years ago it was $54,000, and I can tell you it's like quadrupled and more in 2 years. So I guess you would say that we're the schmucks because we got in late, but anyway. So on January the 10th, I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting. It is a really great group. They're doing lots of things. To the point that's being raised by Councillor Bratton is that on January the 24th, Jasmine Devick of TMX will be speaking to the Chamber. So that might be something to tune in on. I believe that's going to be done in person as well as Zoom. I don't know if they're going to do they decided on a hybrid. I think we're waiting, but they do have a Facebook page, and maybe I can loop back to the executive on that. And then perhaps the District of Clearwater can follow up on that. Their intention is to have a really dynamic speaker list and to rejuvenate the business community, which sounds like it's going really, really well. Tomorrow will be the first meeting for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Group. So I'm looking forward to attending that. I am hoping that as we move forward, we're trying a new format with the minutes, but I wouldn't mind going back to where we had a calendar that referred to the many different working groups and committees that council had, as well as who was the council representative for that. I think it's really good in transparency so that the community knows what meetings were being attended to. It just helps keep it on track. And I'm also looking forward to an update on some of the meeting minutes. I know that the Trails Task Force, they're super active, so it's hard to keep up with them, but on the website, it's not yet up to date. I think that we're missing kind of a few there. And I'm also interested in the recruitment and retention meeting that was held in December and receiving those minutes. I think that meeting was held December the 16th. That's got some interest to the community members as well. I did speak to a gentleman also in regards to the Robson repairs. And just asking if there is a way to kind of still morph the old-fashioned way of doing the door knocking or the calling. He wasn't on social media. He doesn't sort of tap in. And I think I'm one of many. I thought the Voyant alert was just for like major things like forest fires and that. So I can see the benefit of keeping in touch. See the Voyant alert being good for property tax assessment, quite frankly, as a little community reminder of when to put your thing in. So just some different ways to kind of communicate. And the good news that came out today is Yellowhead Community service for $10 a day daycare. So that's a good news story.
Excellent, thank you. Moving on, CAO report is in your package under 15.1. Any questions of Mr. Thomas on the CAO report? Lots going on as usual. Okay, if nothing there, moving to page 4 of your agenda, Kamloops ridership, new business staff reports. Kamloops ridership numbers are there. That's the Valley Connector route numbers. Is that what that is? 16.1.
Page 35 of the agenda package, Route 10, Clearwater Valley Connector. And
it's actually a really good news story. 1,800 people using that connector for BC Transit. So it's nice to get that report and seeing how that service is being utilized.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of conversations, North Island and other places that do not have a service like this that are begging for a service. And other areas that are asking the province to subsidize a similar service. More along the lines of the old Greyhound, but yeah, across the province on that. Grant aid checklist. You have a giant checklist on your desk, so you understand what kind of things that you can do. You could make notes on your thoughts later, and when we bring those things back for decision at the next meeting. Thank you, Ms. Glassen, for that. Any comments on it at all, or just for our information?
Thank you. The checklist was provided to you. I know a lot of those checklists, there's some that are, black and white, so to speak. Yes, they had an application. Yes, they had a financial statement, but a lot of them are all subjective. So it was difficult for staff to make that decision. So I leave it up to council to make those decisions as they come forward.
Thank you. So there's some information on there for you if you like that. And then we're moving on to item 16.3. So there's a staff report on KLCC and wells 1 and 3. You wish to speak to this? Page 97, 98. Jump here for a second.
One second here. Yeah, so this is the generators just coming back again. I had a chance to review the applications and there was just a few things I needed clarification on. One is the motion had to be written in a specific way for the grant, so just altered that. One of the big things was the costs can only be incurred from the date of the application submission until final report. So as soon as we apply, then we can start tendering if you're committed to the project, regardless of how, if we get the grant or not.
Regardless if we get the grant or not.
Yeah.
Okay, we can still start the process. Okay, thank you for that clarification. That helps a lot with that. Further questions of staff on this one before I ask for a mover on the option 1? Councillor Frizzle, go ahead.
So are you saying that if we can put in the application and then we can apply or tender for the generator?
Yes.
But if we don't get the grant, can we cancel that? Or would we carry on?
Decision of council,
I guess it would be, wouldn't it?
So, yeah. Sure. So there's an option 2 on page 98, but I'll let Mr. Thomas speak to that.
With respect to the question if council can cancel a procurement, yes, is the short answer. Be advised that the previous report included as a number 1 recommendation from the after action report due to the loss of power in March of 2022, council directed staff to move forward with this project. So canceling the project will mean if we lost power in the community, we will once again be in a situation of losing water to the whole community.
Supplemental to that, I just wanted to clarify that, not that I would want to do that. I just wanted to know if we had options. That's all. Because I know we do need the generator.
Thank you, Councillor Frizzle. Are there any other questions on this? Councillor Sim.
So I just want to make sure disaster risk reduction, the climate adaptation, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it is under category 2, which is non-structural projects, is that right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out, and maybe you can help me understand how that the generator would fit into their criteria.
As being
Well,
equipment for emergencies.
Well, you see, when I read through the actual application, is that it seems to me that it's more for mitigating disasters. So some of our work on the dikes, etc., and it's looking for how we prevent things as opposed to how we respond. So I don't know how the generator that would be positioned for this particular grant application.
Well, the way I read it,
Yeah.
it seemed to fit as in if there were a forest fire or something that, so it could be due to climate or an emergency.
Councillor Herring?
Yeah, I see this as a mitigation tool because of the fire flow issue, right? This isn't like essentially we're protecting areas of Clearwater by being able to maintain water and water service so that our fire trucks can hook up and protect neighborhoods. So I would see that as a mitigation tool the same way a dike is.
I do. It's just not reading that in the UBCM outline of the grant. So I don't know if the grant has changed because it's been, as you'd mentioned in the last one, it's been open for a little bit, and sometimes they do tweak these things. But when you look into it, it's land use planning, delivering community education, purchasing equipment that supports the applicant to meet the intent of Category 2 projects, monitoring and equipment, hydrometric stations, etc. Now, I'm all in favor of chasing money. I think that that's really important to do. But if it is a council resolution, I want to make sure that we're actually aligning with what the grant application is, because I don't want to be one of those communities that go, oh, maybe you should have gone through one of the other possible streams. So they do have like an emergency operations centers and training, and that's I thought where it fits a bit better. The problem is the dollar amount, as you've probably seen, is a lot less. So I just draw that to the attention, is that we are really, it seems to me that we're stretching the boundaries, and as we as a council, are we okay with that?
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Sim. Does somebody wish to move this?
I'll move option 1.
Thank you. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Matheson. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item 16.4, annual call summary. Is that Mr. Smith or somebody else going to talk to those numbers or the questions on that?
Thank you, Miss.
Just keep it a little bit away.
Wow. Okay. I just wanted to provide this information to council as our numbers went quite substantially higher last year. Most of it was due to medical response as outlined on page 101 of the package. And some of them were burning violation calls and some bush and grass fires. More for an information or discussion type report.
Okay, thank you. Anything that spots anything there that people want to discuss or ask a question of Mr. Smith on? Councillor Frizzle.
You say you're getting called out quite more often as a first responder. Are you getting called out on what kind of calls do you get called out on? Everything?
Not everything. There's their call triage form. So we get called to cardiacs, shortness of breath, the higher level stuff. Most of them of that 24 of last year, we probably got called off on half of them at least, but by the paramedics were already there sometimes. So they'll call us as well, just so that both the groups are going, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 16.5, request for grant extension and change in scope. This is an information item, but I'll let staff speak to this if there's any questions.
We're actually looking, it's part information,
okay,
part seeking direction with respect to the grant, and ultimately a decision on whether council wishes to direct staff to approach the province to change the scope of the grant. So to walk you through, I would like to direct your attention to page 1 or 2 of the package. The district applied for a grant under the Labor Market Partnership Agreement with the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction to address displaced labor force as a result of the mill closure in 2019. There were 5 activities as part of this particular grant application. Those are listed on page 1 or 2. The first one is to hire an external consultant onto the project. The second is to convene a steering committee, which I would argue is the Economic Development Task Force, to act as a source of support and guidance for the selected consultant. Number 3, To gather relevant labor market information, consultant would develop a strategy that focuses on 5 areas. Number 4, submit a report to the province and finalize the strategy for the District of Clearwater. Number 5, make a final report available to existing and future community development projects. Lower down on page 103, there's a second grant the district applied for. This grant is the rural dividend grant. We received an agreement on March 30th, 2020. The focus of this grant was 1, the socioeconomic impact analysis and recommendations. Number 2, updating the existing economic development strategy, which is now the economic development strategy the district has. Number 3, broadband cellular infrastructure strategy. And number 4, capacity, i.e. staff, for the implementation of the updated strategy, the new community transition strategy, the broadband cellular strategy, and other community transition and economic recovery actions. Since these grants were received, the District of Clearwater benefited quite significantly from the activities of Trans Mountain Pipeline Project, and the impact of the transition process was very different from what those strategies would have envisioned at the time of inception. On page 104, the district received $170,000 for the rural dividend fund. This money has been used to date exclusively for the purposes of paying for salaries and benefits for the economic development officer position. The end date for this grant is March 31st, 2023. And we are looking for direction from council, whether council is interested in exploring a 1-year extension and also change the scope to exclusively focus on paying for the economic development officer position, so that the EDO can focus on implementing the grant, the economic development strategy.
Questions of staff? I do note, I'll start off, I do note in the discussion of strategic implementation on the first paragraph at the bottom, it says it's very important to note that none of the grants to create the strategy or to implement the strategies were intended to be to include funding, pay the materials and supplies and other ancillary costs necessary for implementation. Can you just maybe clarify that a little bit, what that means, Mr. Thomas?
Sure. I'll ask the current EDO to expand on my response, but basically if the economic development strategy calls for, say, building a park, I'll use that as an example. The process and the cost associated with building the park is not accounted for in the district's budget, in the district's financial system. And so what we have done as a result is to apply, actually, I'll use wayfinding. One of the actions is wayfinding. We don't have any budget in the district 5-year financial plan for wayfinding signages. So as a result, the EDO applied through ETSI for a grant of $15,000, and we were successful on a $10,000 grant to implement that specific aspect of the strategy.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Sim?
So I've got a couple of questions. One is that the EDO has been in place for a year, and just any updates on how this year's gone in terms of implementing the economic development plan?
We can certainly go back and compile a report on what the EDO has focused on. I know latest update we provided was just before the election, which highlighted some of the work that was done, and we could certainly bring that back as well.
Yeah, and I was just looking how it related, because I know that this position was in particular to implement the plan, and so just pulling out those finite details. In the resourcing of the implementation, which is on page 71 of the financial plan, originally the intention had been just a part-time position, which was going to be 3 days a week. There was funds set aside under the grants to $40,000, and then the District of Clearwater, the intention had been that business licensing fees would be used to bump that up. Now, I don't certainly want to talk about salaries. That's a better for in camera, but it is that maybe to focus on the fact that it was 3 days a week, and then it would allow some funds under the grant to implementing things like the wayfinding, so we didn't have to go chasing grants. So it had been structured originally that some of these projects could be pushed forward, and I'm not seeing the connection of that in this report.
Any comment, Mr. Thomas?
The purpose of the grant, the scope of the grant is listed on page 106 and 107. None of that included funding direct activities for the implementation of the grant, other than the capacity piece. So we would not have been able to use that funds in other means not authorized by the funding agency.
Further questions from, thank you, Councillor Frizzle through the staff.
If we did not grant this extension, what would happen to the economic development?
To the funds or to the grant or to the position?
To the position, to the economic development role.
The current budget for the position expired March 31st, 2023. Without action of council, the EDO role will not continue to operate.
Thank you.
What would happen to the projects though that she or the BDO has got funding for?
We would have to have a discussion amongst the management team to reassign all of those projects, which will impact workload for staff.
Further questions at this time? So as far as direction specific in the plan there, one thing I did note in there was a focus on, you're looking at priorities. Broadband and cellular, I think we're pretty much tapped out on that. And there's just too much flux in the wind with the completion of the Trans Mountain project and Rogers potentially entering the picture. At this point, I think I count 5 or 6 internet suppliers operating in our area. If you throw in Starlink and ExploreNet into that mix, TELUS and Mascon, potentially Rogers, I don't really see any point in putting a focus on that, especially until we find out what Rogers wants to do. So that one I would be okay with not doing anymore.
I think the intention of having the broadband originally was to piggyback onto the broadband report that the TNRD, does that ring any bells to you, Mayor Blackwell?
Yeah, but we also did our own.
Well, and that's how we were fostering it. And then guess what?
So are you-
Mascon came, so.
You're basically saying it's not necessary anymore?
No, but it is why, and I just wanted to tie it into the report because the NIDIT fund mile zero, so there isn't, but I do think that I liken the TMX transitioning out very similar to the end of CAN4 is what's the next stage. We saw those comments captured at the open house for the budget is people asking what's next. So I think that there is reason to look at what the transition for the community is. And a lot of those strategies were captured by the Community Economic Development Task Force and are in the report, both the one that was done by Lionsgate and also the SFU one. So we've got some really good strategies, and I think having them implemented would be helpful as we go into our next chapter.
Okay, so this is just for discussion right now. We'll make a decision on this at a future time. Is that the goal here? You want direction on it? I think. Do you need a motion to extend to ask for the extension of the grant and new terms?
We would like the motion. Sometimes the province may request one, but we also, in order for us to go back to the province, similar to the Clearwater River Trail project, we asked for a motion clarified and send that to the province as well. what the actual expectations are from the previous application that was submitted.
Okay, so just to say that as simply as possible, Courtney, what type of motion and what would be the wording of motion that you would require at this particular point to put this back to the province for reconsideration and extension of the grant?
Okay. That council directs staff to seek a grant extension to March 31st, 2024, and that staff requests a change in scope of the project to remove the community transition and broadband infrastructure strategy and use the remaining funds to pay for the EDO position.
Okay, Councillor Herring.
I think more discussions warranted before we get to that point. I think like it's good to see this, but I think there's a few other things we need to consider here. I think both in camera, and then I'd like to maybe see this as part of the overall strategic planning process. How did the rest of council feel about that?
So I think quickly, could we separate these requests off? First, an extension of the grant to 2024 without specifics. Is that something that council would go for? Because right now we're looking at this money not being usable after March 31st of 2023. So we don't have much time to straighten that part out. What it gets used for, that can be another discussion, but start the process of going back to the province to say, can we get an extension? Because we really don't have a heck of a lot of time, and I would hate to turn this money back to the province. Councillor Herring?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with going back to the province on the condition that the province doesn't need a specific plan of how this money is going to be spent. I just wonder how we apply for an extension on a grant without an idea of where the money that we're asking for is going.
Okay, so there's a couple changes of scope that Mr. Thomas mentioned. One is removing the broadband aspect of it, but we already did have some scope on this as far as implementation of plan. Is that not correct? Sorry, we had deliverables on this grant.
Yes, they're on page 106.
Okay, so those deliverables, even if we just ask for extension, theoretically, all those deliverables are still in place.
They would be.
Okay, we're just asking, we could just continue the grant at this point with the deliverables that are already listed in what we asked for here. Now, then we would have to have a separate discussion on funding or financing the EDO position moving forward after March 31st, which I think is what's being asked here. Clarification? Councillor Sim.
I would be interested in seeing the agreement letter. And the only reason being is because around this time in 2019, the rural dividend program was actually canceled. And I realize that this is a request for special circumstances, but this particular, we seem to be missing, I think it's some pages. I'm not seeing it dated, and it's not resonating with what we had agreed to. So even the deliverables are great. We have to take out the conversation around the wages and see. I'm also wondering if there's already been conversation with the government and what maybe some of those tentative discussions entailed.
We have not had discussion with the funding agency at this point. We're seeking direction from council first. Right now, page 106 and 107 is directly from, and page 106, 107, 108, and 9 are directly, continues to 112 are directly from the grant application itself. The contract that the district would have received would have been, the grant application has been approved. You are required to deliver those items by March 31st, 2023.
Under that, it seems reasonable that we ask for the grant extension to achieve those objectives, and then it will be up to us internally to decide how that's done. That's.
Yeah. Somebody want to make that as a motion that we ask for the grant extension to March 31st of 2024, And we could also include there's 2 items of scope or something that you did mention in there, Mr. Thomas, that could be removed at this point because they're broadband.
So on page 106,
Right.
the objectives are socioeconomic impacts, assessment, analysis, and recommendation. Update existing economic development strategy. That piece has been done because council has adopted a new economic development strategy. I would argue the socioeconomic impact assessment would have been done as well to feed into developing the strategy. The broadband cellular infrastructure strategy. Infrastructure for broadband is not a scope or a co-function of local government. And the District of Clearwater strategy is broadly going to include advocacy as a primary format. The capacity for implementation, the capacity is a staff person. So the outstanding items, keep in mind, the first 3 items did not include the community transition strategy. The first 3 items only included the build up to the economic development strategy. The 3rd item is the infrastructure for broadband, which is not a domain of local government. And the 4th item is staffing to implement those strategies, which is the economic development officer.
Okay, thank you.
What about page 108? How does that tie into these? Component 1, component 2, component 3, and component 4. You've addressed component 3, which is develop the broadband cellular. So we've agreed on that, but understanding the socioeconomic and community impacts so that we have solid understanding and a base for development of mitigation efforts and strategy development. That seems to be relevant given that TMX will be transitioning. Is that correct, everybody?
Which component, Councillor?
The rural dividend request for special circumstances on page 108 has 4 components identified. So I'm just clarifying that we would still be moving forward with component number 1, component number 2, specific community transitions. And then it does acknowledge component 4, which talks about the capacity.
Yeah, and what I put in my notes here is removing component 3 at this point. The other 3, what I see here, are things that are still underway. This was all, Trans Mountain has nothing to do with this grant. This was all about forest, and this was tied specifically to forest, and provinces putting closure of mills. That said, the intent of the other 3 do still fit.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, I think we're in agreement on that.
So the motion is to go back to the government to ask for the extension to achieve the deliverables of the grant, and that we would internalize how we would achieve that. And to be specific about that, it is not to commit a set amount of dollars for any wages or contractor.
I think we're, other than removing component 3, I think that the government might tell us what they may or may not want us to do with this anyway. So I think at this particular point, we need to go back to the province, give direction for staff to go back to the province to ask for the extension and get staff to find out what may be permissible and not permissible or acceptable to the province of British Columbia, instead of us trying to direct that.
I'm asking staff not to include the staffing component, just saying, can we extend these? That was my comment on it.
But it doesn't happen if we don't have it. So we have to have a discussion at some point about how we fund staffing.
And we can't do that publicly, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Does somebody want to make a motion that? There was so much talk in there. I had no idea if that was a motion or not. So you've made that motion. Is there a seconder to that motion?
I'm going to let somebody else do it. Maybe they'll have more
No,
success.
you did it. That's fine. Thank you, Councillor Frizzle. Further discussion.
Sorry, what is the motion exactly?
Sorry, that's what I need to hear too.
The motion is to direct staff to go back to the government of British Columbia to ask for an extension of the grant to achieve the deliverables as noted in the report, less broadband internet.
Okay, thank you for the clarity. You still second that, Councillor Frizzle? Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Hey, we got somewhere. Is Mr. Mayor going to speak to Sportsplex report?
Sorry.
Down here is good, right at your bottom button.
So 2022 was a successful year for the Sportsplex after recovering from the COVID and the pandemic and everything else. We saw a lot of events happening again. We were still affected by the lack of hotel rooms in Clearwater. However, that problem seems to have been resolved now. Things are back up and running close to a normal state. I provided there a list of events we've held so far and coming events for 2023. The first one, minor hockey tournament weekend passed. We've got another tournament, hockey days, several more tournaments this year, championships and provincials coming up. And then next summer into hockey school.
Any questions, Mr. Mayor? Councilor Frizzle.
Just a comment. I really liked that you put in the attendance. It was really nice to see that how many people were going to watch the event. So I thought that was a really good thing to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we've had good crowds at almost everything. I think people are really enjoying being able to get out again.
Further questions, comments? Councilor Bratton, Councilor Herring after.
I have, do we happen to know what the registration numbers are at this year?
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Curling and figure skating are actually up.
Nice.
The figure skating has close to 90. The curling club has about 50, over 50. They're curling full slate on 3 nights of the week. Minor hockey is down slightly, maybe 5%. And adult hockey has seen a big growth too.
Minor hockey's numbers at these days?
Between 90, I believe between 95 and 100.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron, go ahead. Minds that sit next to or each other think alike. Councilor Matheson.
I noticed in the report there that there was a mention about the audio system in there. Is that still an issue?
It was
there.
resolved and then one of our mixing boards fried, but it's been repaired again. So right now, when I left the arena today, it was working.
So is that something we need to budget for in the future?
We put in a business case for a replacement.
It's in a business case file, yeah.
Good, thanks. It was an improvement the last time I was in there, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any further questions for Mr. Mayor on this? If not, thank you for your report. You are also speaking to 37 East Property Development questions. There's a PDF report in your packages, 118 and I believe 119.
At the January 3rd meeting, council asked for the 37 East Park report to be included in the financial plan and updated. I've done that here and provided a little bit of a timeline for both the property and the community benefit agreement with Trans Mountain, so that you can see where we've gotten to today. The plan in 23 was to do construction drawings with construction of the property in 2024. However, you can see right now, based on 2022 pricing, we have significant shortfall. By the time we get around to this in 24, that shortfall is going to grow. So we do not make any recommendations at this time. We're looking for some direction on council.
Further questions, thoughts on that? I think we're going to discuss this under strat planning stuff as well. So. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for reports.
So we should make a motion so it doesn't come back to that front page thing.
Would you like to make it? Never mind. Was that motion?
Motion to refer to financial planning after strategic. I think it ties into discussions around Dutch Lake as a whole, as well as the Trails Task Force and the project to the River Trail.
I don't understand what's going on. What's the request here? Did we not pass this to financial already? So now you want to add it to strat planning?
No, I already said that we have, but do we have to do something to get it off that list? So in which case, I
Just move to remove it from the tabled items.
motion to remove from tabled items.
Thank you. Seconder on that. Thank you, Councilor Matheson. All those in favor? I'm great for getting it off the table. Minor hockey rapid shot is still there. You have a report. Sportsplex roofing repairs, 129, 135.
Much like the previous one, I think we also would like a motion to remove that from the tabled items, the rapid shot report.
Okay, somebody want to move that we remove that from the tabled items? Thank you, Councilor Herring. Second on that. Discussion. All those in favor? Sportsplex roofing repairs. You have a case. Information only. What? We have information?
That's simply from the contractor who gave us an original quote. Materials had a significant jump, and he provided me with an updated estimate for the work to be done. And so I've updated the business case for council.
Okay, thank you.
So motion to have this included in the financial plan
Do we need to
for
do that?
capital?
It already is.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for clarification, Ms. Clausen. Committee of the whole recommendation to move into committee of the whole meeting of government operations and standing committee. Can I get a mover and a seconder on that? Seconded by Councillor Bratton. All those in favor? Turn the chair over to Councillor Frizzle.
Thank you, Mayor Blackwell. We're moving on to 18.2, the financial plan 2023-2027, December 13th, 2022, public engagement. Ms. Clausen.
Sorry, I just want to remind, well, now the committee of the whole that we are at 8:57 p.m. We need a motion by 9:30 to extend
By
beyond
9:30.
9:30.
Okay, we've got a half an hour then.
Thank you, Chair Frizzle. This is just a report providing some highlights of the public engagement that was held on December 13th. I believe we had a pretty good turnout considering the time of the year. And all the comments are attached for council to consider as they move through the financial planning process.
Are there any questions of staff? Mayor Blackwell.
No, sorry.
Oh. Councillor Sim.
I'm just wondering because there certainly continues to be conversation around the Dutch Lake, if that should be included in our financial plan. The line painting is not solved.
I know it's not solved.
So to me, I would see that as some sort of a business case or discussion about what to do.
Councillor Broughton, did you want to add to that? Or- Oh, sorry. So what did you?
I would like to know if the solutions for Dutch Lake will be, if we are going to, as a council, include financial plan.
Any thoughts? Mayor Blackwell, I heard you take it.
Not there right yet.
Okay. Should that go to a strategic plan before the financial plan, or do we do the financial plan?
How about we bring it forward for a discussion at the next council meeting?
That's a good idea.
Okay.
This is staff update. Because we have no information.
Go ahead, Ms. Clausen.
I understand, but the question was asked, is there anything that we saw here that
Yeah.
should be included? So my response is a solution for Dutch Lake is what I saw in the feedback,
Yes.
and I'm bringing it forward.
Yes.
Inside the next report, perhaps you can add that to the financial plan.
So are we just going to bring it forward to the next meeting then for discussion?
What's needed tonight out of this? Is this just for information, in which case, motion to accept for information? Okay.
We had the public engagement. We brought back with the feedback that we received. If council wished to act on it, council would have to discuss the merits of whichever action council wants to go forward with, provide us with direction to either come back with specific information that would help council make an informed decision, or council can direct us to add a particular project to the plan under the next report, which is add, modify, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So with that, option 1 is saying that you can add to the list. Is that adding to the list or modifying?
So,
Am I on the wrong one?
so we're looking at the
Oh, I'm
report,
sorry.
pages
I'm on the wrong
136
one.
and 137.
Sorry, I was on the wrong one.
And the notes 138. Now, this is for council to review and consider as they move through the financial planning process. The following report, it could be an opportunity if council so wishes to add, modify, delete a project that they see is worthy.
Motion to receive the report on page 138.
Seconded for that? Councillor Bratton, all those in favor? That's carried. Okay, then moving on to 18.3, Financial Plan 2023, Capital and Special Projects Direction. Ms. Clausen.
This is just another opportunity, and the purpose of this report to provide council with an opportunity to provide additions, modifications, or deferrals or removal of any project they see. I have gone through preliminary, and we have 46 projects. It is substantial. 20 of those are carried forward, and 23 of those, or 26 of those are projects. Some of those numbers will continue to change as we see invoices coming in for 2022, and we refine the carry forward because they're continuous projects. So stay tuned for that. I have provided for you a table 1 and table 2. This is an extra sheet that seemed to have missed the agenda.
Okay. Oh, that's that here.
The report does refer to them. Our current draft projects are $5.8 million. So looking at table 1. Okay. I just want to highlight that some of the major projects, a siphon, cell to sludge removal. So that's in the sewer category.
Wow.
Looking at fire and public works, we have some projects there that include a bush truck, fuel management, and fire smart. Looking at roads, public works, we're looking at a road budget of about $300,000 and a bridge of about $200,000. And then, of course, the Sportsplex has a new roof and dehumidifier in the project. Turning it over to table 2 is that we are heavily funded by grants. And some of these projects that we've carried forward, they've already been taxed for in 2022. So we're looking at those or before. So those are about 226,000 has already been taxed. And right now, as a draft financial plan, we're looking at 1.2 coming from reserves. So this is very preliminary. And all we're looking for council is whether or not they want to add a project, remove a project, or modify a project. Council should have all the material they need to make those decisions.
So thank you, through to staff, through
Sure.
yeah. we have that opportunity still at further points through the financial discussion. This is just coming up in this meeting, that if there's something that we see at this point, we can make that, suggestion at this point. But we're still going to have future discussions. Where do you have a vague idea where we are as far as budget goes, as far as if we were to roll forward with this as it sits, where will we be at?
At this point, we have a
Taxation-wise.
council workshop on the 31st of January, and that's where we're going to be discussing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to make council aware on page 142 to pages 144. List the draft capital special projects program that was brought forward on November 22nd, 2022. Under the column 2023 budget would list all the projects that are earmarked for 2023. If council ultimately desires to add additional projects to the current program, it will require staff time to research, find out estimates, and collate that information to support council decision. It's easier to cut. If we need time to build the business case, we will need some advance notice of that so that we can make sure council has the information necessary.
Any questions? Councillor Sam.
I appreciate the fact that a lot of these are carryovers. So what would also be helpful, and I think you actually have provided a report, is what percentage of these projects are near completion. So I think when you had done the trails update, that there had been some defined things that things had been close. So those things will be coming off the list, and they're fairly substantial. So that should free up some capacity. Am I understanding that correctly?
It would free up capacity, but again, we had, I want to say 40 projects in 22, and of those, 20 of them were carry forwards in different stages of completion. I certainly acknowledge that, but that is a significant portfolio of projects to complete for the current staff.
Yeah, and I think that with that discussion around projects is, and you said it in your cover letters, different projects have got, some different constraints to it. So for example, furniture, is very different than a trail. The turnout gear for the fire department, that's something that's done, almost as part of an operational base. So it's difficult to gauge those when you hear it in the bulk, because not all projects, as you've said, are equal. So looking for that capacity, because we do need to turn our eyes to some things. And I do want to see something about Dutch Lake. It is a point of contention in the community, and I think it's important that we solve that.
I am. Any further questions?
I'm good at this point. I look forward to the session, the workshop at the end of the month. I do agree with Councillor Sim that Dutch Lake is an issue.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what the scope of that would be at this particular point. If you wish a motion to go forward to put it back to staff to see about returning it to the way it was, I would be, and costing on that, I would be to make that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It would be interesting to hear some of the comments from the Trails Task Force Committee. I think that in August that they had a meeting and that they had identified some things, and they were, they had some really proactive observations about it. I think people know better than about returning it. I think that we're looking for a smarter answer.
Sorry, through the chair to Councillor Sim. Did we not actually make improvements there with new painting on the roadway there at the end of last year? New sign?
We did. And so what we did, because there was some confusion, for example, people didn't know where they could park. There was the bike lane, so we put some bike things. Right now, the way that they did the symbols is it looks like you can only be biking one way. It doesn't identify what happens in the winter. It's not clear. I think it's a safety concern. We've heard from some of our citizens the fact that even with the new painting, it doesn't allow them to operate larger scale vehicles. It seems a bit more dangerous. Is it back to the drawing board? is it back to the way it was? These are great things that we could probably talk about in the budget workshop, and getting some feedback.
Okay, sorry, if I may.
Go
Oh, no,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
Councillor Herring?
And I have supplemental after that.
Yeah, and for me, I agree. I think something's got to be done with it. My only thing is I don't want to see us rush into something that leads us back to where we are today, right? And I think a full process is a good idea. So in terms of what staff could bring back to bring this to the budgeting process, like, I mean, we're talking about the end of the month. I don't know what they can bring back as far as quality detailed information in 2 weeks to get us started on this. I understand the need for maybe like a placeholder in the conversation. I'm just worried by this point, the 2023 budget going towards this is, I don't think we're gonna be able to come up with the right solution on that timeline. That's my feeling.
Mayor Blackwell?
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Herring that I don't think we have time to do anything substantive on this. I mean, we do have a lot of costs that we could probably extrapolate from the previous build. The other concern that I have is on this decision, and ultimately Trails Committee decisions are decisions of council to put forward and put into motion, not decisions of the Trails Committee. We created, this is a philosophical discussion that we need to have about how we think of projects in the future on this. We created a 12-month solution to essentially a 4 to 5 month of the year issue, which is parking at Dutch Lake. We've also done that with some of the other trails in town, where they're paved trails that may or may not be maintained year round. And to what standard do we maintain them? So we're making long-term changes to the environments that people drive in and use that isn't necessarily be reflected in the actual use of those environments. And Dutch Lake is a prime example of that. I also have deep concerns with paving to such width for the capacity and the use of these trails, for the size of the community we have. We're putting a lot of asphalt down on the ground in places where it causes drainage issues. We haven't really thought that out. And I think we have to have a larger conversation about what we're putting on the ground as an idea, whether it's environmentally friendly, whether it actually fits the needs of the community. I look at the trail being paved here, out behind here, going into Dutch Lake subdivision, where we paved through, it's on our right of way, but along the front of a lot of properties on a road that doesn't get a heck of a lot of use. Was that necessary? We put a lot of asphalt down there, and I think we need to have a larger discussion on that. Specific to fixing Dutch Lake, yeah, for sure. I don't think we're going to get improvements or a staff report in that amount of time, but I'm all in favor of a staff report to look at a different solution, that puts the traffic lines back to a larger thing, but that's an expensive discussion. I do think it needs to be done and looked at before summer, but I don't necessarily know if it can be part of budget process.
Anything for the Councillor Sim?
I wonder if that type of a discussion could be tied into 37 East and how we could maybe look at those funds be part and parcel. Like 37 East is going to serve as the trailhead to the river trail, as well as Dutch Lake, as well as the boat launch. So maybe we have to just revamp the scope of that, use some of that funding, and to come up and maybe have some public consultation about, you know, how to move forward for something.
Anything further? Do we need a? No, we don't need anything from that point. Okay, so do I move? Would someone like to move that council rise from committee of the whole? Councillor Bratton, second. Councillor
Thank you.
Matheson.
Where are we on timeline? We're at 9:14. We do have an in camera, so I assume we need a motion to continue past 9:30. Okay, would somebody wish to make a motion that we continue the meeting past 9:30? Because I don't think we'll.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor McKenzie already has.
Oh, sorry.
And Councillor Frizzle seconds that motion. All those in favor, and that passes. So we are good to go past 9:30. We are at item 20.1, if I'm correct. TNRD Regional Growth Strategy external link. I have 2 copies of this somewhere. If somebody wants to see it, it's on their website as well. Interesting information and presentations in there. Thompson Resource Management, Trans Mountain Reforestation. That's actually kind of a cool thing to know that a local company's got that, and some of the scope of the trees and things that are going to be looked at there. BC Hydro regreening program. Reminder, FCM board opportunity for vacancies. Councillor Frizzle.
I'm just BC Hydro. They're talking. Oops. Oh, I haven't got it on. They're talking about shrubs and whatnot, and I know this is probably the cart before the horse type thing, but I was thinking shrubs for 37 East. But I'm way ahead of the game.
Well, no, I thought that's why they were partnered together.
Looking for opportunities. It's a good one. That's a good one. We have no notices of motion. Question period. Other questions from the public? Annabelle, I see your hand going up.
No, I don't. I live in the Dutch Lake subdivision. In the summer, I see a lot of people walking on the trail. And in the winter, not so much, but I had a neighbor actually drive down there on the road.
Annabelle's question is, might anybody else have a question from the public? Mr. Borrow, can you pass the mic back to Mr. Borrow?
Okay, in your discussion on this 444 Clearwater Valley Road, am I correct that the previous variance was approved not to hook to sewer? Correct in understanding that?
Yeah, that's correct.
And now we want another variance to not hook to water?
That's correct. That's the request of the landowner.
Okay, I agree with Councillor Sim. You guys need to get some proper information given to you. There's maps at the Public Works Office that show where all this stuff is. On here, subdivision servicing standards. Proposed subdivision within Area 1, which calls for highest urban, blah, 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 including road, curb, gutter, sidewalks, street light, connection to water, sewer, stormwater, etc. So why is this okay for one developer to follow this, but not another?
I don't have an answer to that right now, but I think that's part of our strategic plan and our OCP review to actually decide whether these go.
Okay, well, even just with the information I heard tonight is false. Like,
okay, but we can't verify that at this meeting. So we can ask staff to go back and check that and bring that to council.
No, but my point is all of it's false all the time. You guys are making decisions on false information. Like,
well,
the stuff I heard tonight's false.
We can't verify that.
Well, why is nobody verifying it?
I will put that back to staff to look into that. But we're going off of the information that I'm assuming staff is going off of the information that they believe to be true. We'll check that. And that is up to staff to do at this particular point.
Okay, well, the mapping that supposedly is from the TNRD does not have water and sewer on it. So I don't know where the applicant got that, because it's not on the TNRD mapping website. It does not have water and sewer. So again, all these drawings here are from someone. So the applicant just throw whatever you want on there. Maybe I'll revoke my subdivision and I can do whatever.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Further questions? Seeing none, we need a motion to go in camera. There's a recommendation that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to sections 91A of the community charter to discuss matters relating to personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this one? Moved by Councillor Frizzle, seconded by Councillor Bratton. All those in favor. We'll take a see you at 9:30 sharp. Thank you.